You know, starting things is easy. Sticking with it, that's the hard part. Y'all know about Gackt?
I do barely. But mostly for being one of my least favorite additions to the comp of FF7 and that whole travesty. Bujingai was bankrolled by Taito and devved by Red Entertainment. Now, Red Entertainment's an interesting pack. They've devved games like Blood Will Tell, that Gungrave PS2 game, Fossil Fighters, and probably most notably Sakura Wars. Well, most notably to gremlins like me. So basically, cult, flawed, but fun games that only a select few are cursed with the knowledge of. But hey, if that sentiment applies to this, then damn, that's all I can ask for. What kind of guy is he? A Bujingai. Someone please break my fingers. So right off the bat, I have to give this game some props. You can completely rebind the controls and the options. For a 2003 console game, that's pretty ahead of its time. Here we see Lao as portrayed by Gackt, both in fake and in not. And then the game just kind of tells you to figure it out. And you've probably already figured out that this is a stylish action game. Not character action, because most games have you play as a character with actions. We'll put a pin in gameplay for now and skip to the part where the game fades away and then the opening credits play. And right away you find out that it was recording your gameplay for the opening credits. So this is actually pretty cool, kind of like playing the end credits in DMC, but like in reverse. But that just means you better bring your A game, because your system will have a copy of this saved onto it until time inevitably takes one or both of you. Oh, and don't worry, not everyone can look as good as me on their first try. It's a neat addition that totally outweighs the developing trust issues. So what is that sticky story adhering this whole experience together?
Oh shit, there was one of those, wasn't there?
Okay, I give no japes when I say that you get more story from literally everything surrounding this game than the game itself. I don't even think you can call what's in this game a story. It can honestly look like test footage of how disjointed some of this stuff is.
Save me. Go through the portal. Hurry, Lao.
So basically, Lao is coming back from somewhere to fight off the demons in some city, of which has been Seiken at least 2 times twice. Before long, we hit the tutorial, and yeah, no way in hell I'm watching this. I'll just figure it out. Stage 1 is the titular Forbidden City, and this is where the real game starts, if you excuse the cliche.
Okay, baby, let's go. We're gonna do it like this.
Your main buttons are light attack for main combos, spin/combo button that when used during a square combo can lead into a launcher, a jump kick flurry combo thingy that's good for keeping your mobility and keeping your combo up, or you can cancel into a spell. And Lao has access to a multitude of spells that serve a nice utility purpose to supplement your moveset and your playstyle. Spells range from things like a fireball, a drill move that provides good mobility to keep up that combo, or summon swords to help extend range. Okay, sounds like a lot on paper, but once you've memorized all the buttons, you have all the tools you need to do stuff like this. Animations are long and combos are simple, so you don't even really have to mash like the goblin that you are. No, I'm serious. This game is constructed with a concise and comprehensible control scheme. One that gives the player digestible options while offering enough to play around with that, with enough experimentation and practice, you too could do some flippy-dippy
Wuxia
shenanigans. Dotted around the levels are these gold coins that unlock bonuses. It's your typical gallery feature stuff, you know, costumes, movies, and whatnot. Some are in pretty easy locations, while others require a quick survey, and the rest can find some soft ground to jump into. So once we reach the end of the first stage, I find out that countering's a thing. Whoops, maybe I should have actually watched those. And we end up fighting the, I'm sorry, the Overlord of Tears? How's that Hot Topic job treating you? I gotta say, I really do love the commitment to the Chinese martial arts.
Wuxia.
Look, even the dubbing is in line.
Now it is time for your final test.
Oh, show results screen music is the only thing I can believe in anymore. It's just such a nice way to cool off after a hectic struggle. Although this is probably the chillest track in the game, most of them are banging so hard that I hope they have protection. Also, yeah, very 2003 of you to make me wait an hour before I can save. Alright, so once we get back to the temple, we are free to explore the grounds, which contains a pretty extensive training and parkour area. So it turns out combat was only half the battle, with the other half being platforming. That's right, platforming and parkour are both necessary to master, at least if you want that gamer cred. The parkour system is interesting in that you can run and jump off almost any wall in the game, really. Lao can glide as well, but it's not nearly as useful because you're kind of locked to your forward direction. Like, you can try to steer, but honey, it ain't that easy. With that said though, it's actually a pretty freeform system. With the proper performance, you can do some pretty slick movement. Hell, even skip some segments if you're good enough. It's also nice that the devs gave you a place to practice all the moves out, you know, really get used to everything. Not just the parkour, but the combat system. You know, you can test out your moves here. Upgrades are here, and there's not much to say. Works similar to DMC, except that you can invest orbs in the skills even without the full amount. Kind of like, you know, Dead Cells or something like that. If there's one thing I really appreciate about all these systems, it's how they make the player engage with the environment, as well as the enemies. You see, the combo meter only ticks down when you're standing on something, so that means in order to get that sweet credibility, you gotta make sure you're doing the parkour, as well as flawlessly and stylishly dispatching the enemy. It encourages a kind of engagement with the level as a whole, making each stage's design actually important, and not just a glorified backdrop. Not that I'm knocking, we do love crispy backdrops. Keep in mind that this is pre to Gaiden, another game that sort of encouraged using the environment in combat. The second level, the Bamboo Forest, really puts a neat spin on the system. The breakable objects reset your combo meter, and the walls in the stage are low and spaced out. So essentially what the level wants from you is to manage breaking the bamboo with all the other systems to help keep your combo up. Not only that, but the level also gives you these objectives to complete that you kind of have to explore each area thoroughly in order to do and unlock the door to keep going. It's kind of a neat way to make the player deeply engage with all parts of the game, not just the combat. Considering that breakable object thing, you're really rewarded for knowing all the levels inside and out, you know, knowing what shows up and where. Just really fills that game with that stylish platforming action stench. Now that's all well and good, in theory, but reality is hardly that simple. You see, Bujingai really hands you the flint, and tells you to arson the library. It's arguably doable, but boy, your hand's gonna be sore. While the tools are simple, the ranking system really wants you to use them, and go even further beyond. Like a 150 combo is a B out here, it's rough. Now, I've suffered enough gifted burnout to know when something just isn't worth the trouble, because keep in mind that you have to keep that combo while dragging your fluttery ass all over the walls and through the air, as well as whapping things to build your combo and not getting hit to keep said combo while showing off at the same time. And that's if the parkour even wants to cooperate. Combat isn't perfect. Every one of Lao's techniques come with quite a bit of commitment. Like you're signing a contract and taking out insurance for even the most basic attack. Seriously, this is your basic one press light attack. You will be sitting and watching and appreciating any animation you do. And don't get me wrong, they look nice. Really nice. But what can I say? They paid Gackt to dance in the studio and you're going to appreciate every cent spent. Like, the only canceling in this game is canceling into the triangle move, and that only leads to other sluggish moves. I'm gonna be canceling my subscription to life. And the enemies? Okay, for the most part, they aren't bad. Most are just combo fodder, but let me tell you about a couple. Flying birds are ass. In fact, any enemy that can freely fly faster than the player could ever keep up with can kindly go away and die. These ninjas are fine. Until they're off screen, then they can go flip off a canyon. These lion things, I get making fast enemies that dissuade aggressive play, but when they decide to just do nothing until you do, and you're on the clock, but the most super extra special fuck you goes to any enemy that throws a projectile. Any attempts at a good run will 90% of the time be dashed by these fucks. There is no pure, billowing vitriol quite like trying to keep up a combo, and my advice, as soon as you see them, just because with them around, being oofed is an inevitability. Not helping things is Bujingai's camera, because it's way too close and makes it hard to see the enemies. And that's a little important, you know? I think the funniest thing is there's a radar-style map, but doesn't show enemy positions. Lovely. It all just starts to add up. Bujingai's controls also aren't as graceful as Gacky Boy here would make it seem. So in order to run on a wall, you have to hold the X button. Now that's all fine and good, mostly, but then jumping comes into play. You see, pressing X while next to or on a wall while the stick is neutral will do a nice triangle jump that sends you up and out. Good for gaining height and distance, and is necessary for a couple parts of the game, although admittedly this one's actually pretty clever. But if you're even considering thinking about touching that stick, well then it's off to another realm for you, buddy. Doesn't sound awful, but when you're in the heat of the moment, trying to platform expertly while managing the enemies, the meter, the speed, and your own sanity, when the spaces are a bit more open and free form, you can do the fun stuff, and it feels really, really nice when it works. But when it doesn't, when the levels ask you to do anything precise, it really, really gets kind of annoying. And all of this really gets exacerbated in the Ice Mountain, and especially the final level, where you're asked to do that on floating platforms in the sky. Stop! Platforms that you are expected to make perfectly timed jumps, glides, wall runs, and jumps in any number of combinations. Oh, I'm sorry, did I say all of that was the final level? No, this is the final level.
Why? That's cool.
The controls just do not feel fit for such precise platforming. And that last triangle jumping segment, Look, I'm tired. Ooh, but right after that, Brazil, hell is a multi-stage enemy gauntlet that exemplifies all the boo-boo bat shit about fighting that I just complained about. At one point, you fight one of the lion enemies, but get this, if you're not quick enough, his buddy decides to join in too. No, you won't be having fun. And right after that is a nice little 2-on-1 with a couple of the Overlord enemies. Now, one by themselves is no sweat, just whittle away their parry gauge and look cool while doing it. But then three's a crowd, and these two have no qualms ripping your ass a new one. And it kind of sucks, because it feels like the way to get the most enjoyment out of the game is just to ignore the ranking system. But then you're ignoring half of what the game was designed for. Hell, Civit's video didn't even mention the ranking system. I think that says something. Oh, and I hear you. Maybe it is a lack of skill on your part for not being able to adjust to the game's design. The final level ends with an admittedly cool looking dragon. You know what, really all the bosses are pretty cool. You've got a, let's see here, a fiery female version of the Overlord with a few tricks. Another lion, and they all test different skills, like handling a big enemy that doesn't stun and hits wide, to managing an evolution of the Overlord enemies, to my fucking face. Best of the bunch have to be Master Naguri and Rei, the rival character. I'd elaborate on Rei more, but his involvement in the plot so far has mostly been a... But rival fights between characters with similar movesets will always be the tippity top. And that final fight, whoo! Honestly, the dragon fight could be pretty annoying. This turned me right around, reminding me of the pure cool fun this game provides when it all just works as it should. I mean, look at this. Look at this! Okay, sounded like I had a lot of negative things to say, but I do genuinely like this game. I think it's pretty damn good. Like I said earlier, when it works, it really works. I swear sometimes this game looks like, pardon the hyperbole, art. Actual dancing, and buddy, it takes two to tango! And I'm not exaggerating when I say that this game is a pretty solid starting point if you're new to stylish action games. I mean, yeah, it can be frustrating. Really frustrating, like, oh my god! Okay, but like every action game has their frustrating bits, and that's why you start small, okay? With this game's simple combat style, it's easy to grasp all your options, and at that point, it's all about experimentation. With experimentation, you'll find tricks like using the spin to knock groups of enemies away, which makes singling them out a lot easier. Or you may find that knocking enemies into the air and doing combos up there helps keep you mobile and less likely to get With experimentation, you'll find little things like dodging being faster than walking, or that if you hold the glide button just long enough to start the animation, but then let go, you sort of do an air dash with great mobility, and it's a great get-in tool. The air kick thing is great for staying on the move and the groove while racking up that combo. But the magic! The magic invites all kinds of creativity with the options it gives you. Even the simple attack and defense spells have their uses, especially to a newbie who is too unfamiliar to branch out to the other stuff yet.
Or you could just go tornado for big damage.
Yeah! Couple all that with the fact that levels are relatively straightforward, short, and replayable, and there's New Game Plus with extra medals for even more extras, and this game begs to be replayed, begs to be experimented with, begs to be dug into to complete every level while looking as cool as possible, with nothing exemplifying this more than one of the post-game unlocks. After beating the game, you unlock a mode in which you can replay the intro segment, but wildly customizable with the enemies that appear, stat levels, spells, and it records the whole thing for you to save and replay. What better way is there to display all the skills you've learned mastering the game than to make a flashy intro credit segment to show off in the office? And if that's not enough for you, there's also interviews with the devs, the one and only Norio Wakamoto, and even the big guy himself. Hell, I guess you are my little pog champ. Come here. Special mention goes to this mocap demonstration. I just really love how it isn't some video cut together with all the best bits. It actually shows an instructor working with Gackt on how to sword dance. I don't know. I just really like seeing the gears turning Gackt's head. It just feels very real, you dig? God, it really is games like this that I wish I had as a kid, because nowadays I just don't have the time to really sink in and appreciate all this game has to offer. Games like this don't really exist anymore. Can't really exist anymore in this market. I mean, it's doubtful we'd ever see stuff like this outside of a deluxe edition, and this isn't even from a big company. But if you are out there trying to get into games like DMC or Bayo, then I really do think this is a good place to start. Look, it's easy to start something, but even easier to quit, especially when you look up and see the long road ahead. Seeing all the challenges, the frustrations, the learning curves, and the failures, not just yours, but the people that came before you. It can all be soul-crushing. It can make you feel silly, ashamed, like you're wasting your time and making a fool of yourself. But just stick with it. That really is the largest hurdle. Sticking with it, learning, trying new things, that's how you'll get to where you want to be. And I won't lie, there's gonna be haters. There are gonna be some haters, and there'll be some naysayers. But we're still out here. My journey has only just kicked off, and hey, looks like I still got a lot to learn. But then, when all hope seems lost, Elton John arrives to the island to save the day. Hey, where's Benny? 'Cause I am the Jets. Oh, I'm a real rocket man now. Oop, I'm still standing! I want to thank you for, putting up with all that and making it to the end of the video. Really appreciate it. Linked in the little suggestion box there is a video from another YouTuber called Civet. I really enjoy his stuff. And it's on the same game, I want to try and link videos from other YouTubers about the same or similar subjects, just to give you different opinions. Even if we say or feel the same way about it, it's still someone else's. Other people have different nuances and whatnot. And I just kind of want to give people a complete picture so they can help formulate their opinion better. I really like that idea. Outside of that, you can press the funny buttons down below, if you want to keep up with my uploads and stuff. And yeah, I think that's it, maybe. I hope we see each other again.